Game on.
Hey there, game gurus. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be looking at something a little bit different than I normally would show on my channel, but it's still definitely related. When you're into retro gaming, or just gaming in general, sometimes there are repairs involved, or mod chips, or HDMI chips, or different things you need to add to these classic, or even some newer consoles. That generally requires soldering, rework stations, and most of all being able to see what you're doing. Now in the past I picked this up years ago, probably a good 10 years ago. This little guy right here, it's supposed to be a little microscope. It's just a web camera with a lens on it. And to be honest, it wasn't that great, but it kind of got the job done when I really needed to make sure the soldering was done okay. But it really wasn't optimal. It wasn't convenient to hold or put on the area I was working at. And the camera's resolution was really not good. And it also did require a PC, that USB port on there, to connect it. Now another thing I always had was one of these little guys here, which is basically more like a jewelry magnifying lens. But again, you put this thing on and you can see a little bit closer to what you're working on, but still wasn't always ideal. It definitely had lights on it. You can turn the lights on to kind of see what you're doing. There's only so much magnification you had on here. It was convenient being on your head and wore it, but still didn't always do the best job of really seeing what you needed to do. So recently I've been given the task of trying to repair a Nintendo Switch USB-C port that was broken. Now I've done many very fine modifications and soldering jobs. Probably the smallest I worked on was my Super Impulse Tiny Arcade. I actually soldered small wires onto the ribbon cable of the 1.44-inch display, and it was very tedious. It was hard to see. It's really used all these different methods here to make sure my soldering was done good, and it did work, but just wasn't easy. That was a number of years ago, and your eyesight typically doesn't get better as you age. So I've been going back and forth on Amazon and looking around at video or camera style microscopes, and I came across one, and it was really expensive. And there was some that was like $30, and then it went up to like $300 or $400. But I saw one there for it was $43. I'm like, you know what, for $43, let me give it a try. So that's what we have right here. This is a small, inexpensive $43 unit here that has a 4.3-inch display built in, which is kind of nice. However, it does connect to your PC to use a full-size display if you wanted to do something along those lines. It comes with a 32 gigabyte SD card, an SD slot. So as you're working, you can actually do snapshots or record video of what you're doing. Now I saw different things. One said it was a 12 megapixel sensor. Inside here and on the box it says an 8 megapixel sensor. So once again, you don't always know what you're really going to get. But I was impressed that it did have its own screen. I read a couple of reviews. People said it was kind of good. But I was skeptical. At $43, I really wasn't too sure. But that's what we're going to take a look at today. And again, this thing would be good for when you're working on soldering PCBs or seeing if there's a broken trace or something along those lines. At least that's the hope. So let's do an unboxing, and then we'll get some shots of the thing actually in use. So that's what we're taking a look at today in Glen's Retro Show, a microscope that may be able to help you with your projects on your retro gaming console. Let's get started. Okay, again, so we have the little innovative, beyond imagination, 1 to 1,000 times magnifying unit here. And again, it's not something normally I do on my channel, but I really do think this can help a lot of people, especially when you're doing work on these small things, repairs, adding composite mods or HDMI mods. This can come in really handy. So this is the box itself, nothing special, very generic. And Amazon, I'll put a link down below to the one that I purchased, but there's hundreds of these. And they range anywhere from I'll say $25 up to hundreds of dollars. So at $43, I thought, you know what, I'll just give it a shot. You can always return it. But we're going to take a look at this today. Again, they show some close-up things here, some diamonds, a spider on. I would never have a spider on around here. I'm sorry, no way. But this is where I got it for, right here. Seeing how I can work on repairs of computer technology, video game technology, and so forth. So they're saying it's a high HD display, high speed, smart and portable. And I forgot to mention, this does have a battery built in. So, and actually it says 10 megapixel here. So on the website it said 12 megapixel. I think inside the box it said 8 megapixel, but here it says 10 megapixel. So I'm not really sure which one is right. but it does have a battery, so once it's charged, this can work for I think 2 to 4 hours by itself, not being plugged into anything. So it's portable as well. So let's open inside the box, see what we actually have inside here. So we actually have the manual right here, and it's kind of generic. I mean, not too much information in here. You know, not the best English in here, but again, you would understand for the most part what it is that you're doing. It shows all the different parts in here, and I'll put this up to the screen real quick. If you guys want to take a look at that, some of the different options that are on here. But you know, who needs manuals, right? We don't use manuals. Put that aside. So I did put a piece of foam here above the unit, and here is the main body of the unit right here, and it's definitely plastic. You know, it's not very heavy, which, you know, it's plastic. There's nothing in here to make it feel like it's super high quality, but it feels okay. So we can see there's some LEDs in here to illuminate what it's looking at, which is helpful. It's just a web camera in there. This is a fine-tuning adjustment for here, but there's also another adjustment on the actual stand. We have a power button on here. It looks like menu and display. Up and down arrows, okay, and it's got a protective film on here, which we'll definitely take off. A power indicator over here. Here is the micro power and connecting to your PC. And the PC will see it just as a camera, like a web camera. It's just going to see it, no special software. At least Windows, say 7 and up, should just recognize it as a web camera. Here is the micro SD slot. They do include a card, I believe. And here is a slider here for the LEDs to make it, you know, more or less bright. Nothing on the back, nothing on the side. So very, very simple. There is a little reset pin in here, right there. And it does say LED light, flash micro SD card, and the micro USB. So we'll put this aside for a second. See what else we have inside the box. Put it back down over here. So one of the things I liked about this one, when I was looking at all the ones online, this actually has a metal stand. It's not a very big stand, and I'm probably going to put this on an arm so I can move it around a little bit easier. And I did order one, so I'm hoping that's going to work out okay. But the other ones are plastic, and a lot of people reported that, you know, they were bending over and it was warping. So I think I'll go for the metal one. Again, $43. It's metal. There is an adjustment here for, I think, oh, that's just, there it is. Here we go. This is the adjustment. This adjusts it up and down. This looks like it just locks it onto the back of the unit right here. It's your adjustment. And of course, you can still move this a little bit to kind of angle it. And they say they did that so when the LEDs are illuminating your PCB, by angling it, you get rid of some glare. So we'll take a look at that as well. And we have a standard USB-A to a micro USB here for power and connecting to your PC for using it as a larger display. Now, it said in the instructions on the box they didn't include this, but here it is. They said they didn't include a power brick, but here's a power brick. And there is a 32 gig generic micro SD card. Don't know how long it'll last, but again, if you're doing work and me doing videos, I can record work I'm doing right on the SD card, or actually also capture it on the PC as well. But it's kind of nice to include that. And just a very small plastic base. So I'm going to move the box aside. So yeah, they include some pretty good things in here, things that you would need, which is kind of good. And again, for the price, I couldn't beat it. So we have our stand here. So the first thing we're going to obviously do is connect this, and it's just got little slots in here. So it's going to put this in and push back, and that should lock it in place. And it did. So the stand is done. There's a little rubber feet on the bottom right here, which is kind of good. And it doesn't move around very easy, so that's kind of good. So the next thing really to do is really just going to move this thing up to its top position, just because why not? And then all we should need to do is peel this off the display, which I'm going to do right now. And display is a 4.3-inch screen. I'm not quite sure what type of technology is being used, but I'm not playing video games on it. It's just going to show what's on the on a non-moving area, so it should probably be okay. And it just really just sits in there like that. So that's not hard to do. And technically you're done. Now, I've already charged this thing up, but if you didn't charge it up, you would use this little cable right here. You would connect it to the side right here, like so. Oh, actually turned on. Look at it, turned on by itself. And there are grids on here as well. You can't see. We'll get some video shot of it later. But it did turn on. And right now, let's just see if we can get a shot of this connector here. I'm going to zoom down maybe a little bit and try and focus it. Go this way, so you can see. Ooh, So here's our micro SD connector. And you probably can't see it too well on the camera there, so we'll get more shots of this later. But it did turn on. It's running on a battery right now, so I'm going to hit the power button just to turn this thing off. And it's going to go night-night. There we go. But if you want to charge it for the first time, which you should do, you're just going to connect the cable here, if I can get it in, like so. And it did include, like I said, a power brick right here, but you most likely have these already. But if you, for some reason, don't, they include this power brick, and you can still plug it into regular PC USB port to charge it. But this is how you would simply charge it, just like this, and plug this in. This feels really light too, but still only got to put up 5 volts. So they have that there. And then we are going to also put in the micro SD card slot in case we do any recording. So here's a little micro SD card right here. And we're just going to put this in on the side of the unit. Hopefully. Maybe it goes in this way. Yep. Okay, so it goes in with the label backwards. We just got to get that pressed in. Here we go. Alright, so again, not much to do. It's easy to set up. It takes just a moment. So what I'm going to do right now is we're going to move the camera around just a little bit so we can get a better shot of looking through the viewfinder here at a PCB. I'm going to put a little computer down here or something like that to take a look at. And I'm going to run it on battery. So I'm going to, just because we're doing it this way to show it's running on battery, we'll take this thing and move it aside for a moment. But let me get a little PCB and we'll move the camera around to get a better shot of the unit. And again, for $43, it's not made of metal. It is all plastic, but it feels sturdy enough. It feels like, it'll take some normal use. It's a microscope. It's not a football or anything like that. But let me get something to put under here and we'll take a look. Okay, so I have a small little board here. This is actually for my my flight yoke. It's a control board for it. And you can see if you had to work on this without any magnification, trying to fix any of these pins or solder these chips on, it's really not going to be very easy. So first thing we'll do here is just hit the little power button right here and turn this thing on. And we see we have just a display. It's showing grids. Now, if we go into the menu here, there's some options. I'll get some shots of this again later when I put it on the PC. But there's resolution, record, lines, line assist. I'm going to see if I can turn that off. So I'm going to go down to line assist, hit the OK button. And it's on currently. I'm going to set it to off. And then hit menu again. So there's no lines on here right now. So I'm going to take the little PCB, move it under here, and I'm going to try and angle this. Again, I'm not sure why it's coming across right now, but I'll get some more shots of this later. But I just wanted you to see right now. Right now it's on probably its lowest resolution, and I can see the chip very, very well. I could probably solder the pins just as they are right now, just from looking at this. But let me get closer. So I'm going to now use the handle here to turn this down to bring it closer. It's going to go out of focus, which is something I would expect. But we can then tune it here to get it back in focus. So I'm going to keep going down, see how close we can get, and big things will go. Keep going to go down. Move this chip so we can see these wires again. Get it back in focus. So again, right there, at this level, it's probably midway in its resolution. I can very easily see inside these pins, but I'm going to keep going more and more. Get this back in focus, and move this. Keep going down. I mean, I'm already impressed already on the quality on this screen. Again, I'll get a better shot before I'm going to plug it into an external display so I can see it even better. But I'm really impressed at how this thing's looking so far. I want to keep going down. I mean, this thing is really, really good. Now, of course, as you get closer, it'll be harder to solder, but you can always check your solder joints. I'm going to keep going down. See if I can focus it a little bit more. I mean, I'm actually seeing the raised ink, or the substrate, I should say, on here. Again, the display is really good. I'm not seeing really a lot of interference on it, which is good. I'm going to go down even more. And that's the most I can focus this. Now I can only focus by raising and lifting. So I think I reached the limit of what it is, but I think it's still out of focus. Let me get it a little better in focus. I guess it depends on, it's so close, it depends on what layer I'm looking at. So let me go back to here. Here's a solder joint. Let's see if we can get that in focus. Crystal clear focus. So that is really good. And of course, right now the LEDs are on its brightest setting. There is an adjustment for them down here as a wheel. So let me see if I can adjust this a little bit. So I can get dim, but I can still see extremely well on everything. So I'm actually really impressed with the quality of this thing. This thing is really, really good. And again, I'm only using the screen that's built in. And there are some options in here where I could put on like guidelines and stuff like that. So if I go back to the menu and I go down, there are the guidelines. I hit OK on that. And I'm going to turn them on. And then menu. It actually puts crosshairs so you know exactly where something is on center, which is kind of nice. Again, you may not see it on this camera, my video camera here, but I'll get it again when I go on the regular TV set. And there were some other options under here, like resolution. I'll go into resolution. I'm currently set at 1080p. It also has 720p and 640 by 480. I'm going to leave it obviously on 1080p. That's probably more for the recording level, I would think. I don't know if it's really changed anything on here. So I'm going to leave it on that. Next option, whoops, we go back to menu. Got to go down over here. They had the recording, which I'm not going to do right now. The lines I'm going to turn back off for the moment, so I'm going to hit OK on that and turn them off, and OK on that, so take them off. Go back to menu and down. What else do we have here? Different exposures. So right now it's set at 0, but you can raise or lower it. I think it's fine, so I'm not gonna mess with any of that. So I'll leave it at 0. And let's go down again. Date stamp. If you want to put a date of when you worked on it, you can set that on here. I'm not going to do that. And then date and time, which I'm not going to adjust right now. There's an auto power off. Let's see what's getting inside there. I have it set to off right now because I don't want it to turn off at all. But if you're on batteries, you might want to do that. But it looks like you set it to 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I'm leaving it at off. And the language is English. Let's see what options we have in here. Well, English and Chinese and other languages that I can't read. So we're going to leave it on English. And then the frequency, the hertz, 50 or 60 hertz. I'm going to actually set mine at 60 hertz because I'm in the US. LCD brightness. Looks like that can be adjusted right now. Or when it, oh, I think it's actually just turns off the display. I'm leaving it to off. You can set it to 30 seconds, 1 minute, or 3 minutes. I'm leaving it to the off position. And then format the SD card. We should do that. So let's do a format. So I'm going to go all the way to format it to OK. It's formatting the card. And it's done. Didn't take very long at all. And I'm reading upside down. Default settings. I don't want to set it back to default settings, but I'm going to cancel on that. So I don't want to reset things I changed. And then the version. It's saying it's H101 2021 and 06. Okay. So I guess you could do firmware updates. So that's it from looking at it at this level right here. I'm now going to connect this. Let me get this back in focus here. Get it back in focus. There we go. Look at that. So we're going to plug this into an external display and take a look at how this looks when it's connected to your PC. Let's get over to that right now. Okay, I'm right here in front of my main computer, and this is where I kind of do all my work. I have a soldering station, I have a soldering rework station. This is pretty much where I do a lot of my projects. So I have the microscope right here, and again, it's portable. It's running on battery power right now. But I want to get it connected to my computer so I can see what I'm doing on the screen over here. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is connect this to the PC over USB. Now, here's the power brick right here. I'm not going to need the power brick, but I do need the USB cable here. So I'm going to take the USB cable and I'm going to connect it to the side over here of the unit, like so. And then plug this into my USB on my PC. And now it's asking me mass storage, PC camera, or record mode. So I'm going to set it to PC camera over here. So I'm going to press the down arrow once, hit OK. So now technically my computer is saying, okay, you connected a web camera. So I'm going to launch a little program on here to do that. Right in your Windows, there's a little app called Camera. So I'm going to pick the Camera app and let that load up. Now I'm going to have to cycle through the different cameras to find the right one. To go to settings over here, camera settings, and it's previewing it right now. So I have the camera now. Here is the camera. It's now on the main screen right here. So once again, we're going to take a look at the same little board right here. I'm going to put it under here, just like before, and you can see how well this little guy, $43 on Amazon, this little microscope is doing. And this is, again, on its highest, furthest setting. So I'm going to show you again on this screen right here how close we can get. So I'm going to come down a little bit. But as you come down, you are going to have to refocus. But that looks like if I had a solder right now, I'm pretty far away and I can see really well right there where we need to solder or check for broken traces of any kind. But let's go down further. Let's keep going down a little more. Refocus it. Again, you can really check this board out. I still have 3 inches. Easy to work with a soldering iron or rework station right here. And you can see everything going on with this board. And at this level, you can already start seeing where the ink is actually being placed on top. I think that's pretty cool. But let's go even further. I'm going to come down even more. And let's zoom in again. If you needed to read the chip numbers, you could see that quite easily. Get my little mouse cursor out of the way. Whoop, there we go. And again, you could check all the different spots here for broken traces, bad solder joints, whatever. But I can still work and solder and still have plenty of room left. So let's go even closer. Fix my little headset over here. It's even coming off my head. We'll come down even more and zoom in again. Still have plenty of room if I had a solder over here, as you can see. But man, you're really getting big detail on here with these tiny, tiny little chips. I mean, these little chips here are tiny. There's my finger. They're tiny. And they look huge here. I can read that easy, 152 if I needed to know that. But I can still solder, so I'm going to go even closer. I mean, that is just, I am just blown away. And the video is stable and crisp on the screen here and here. I didn't see any interference. I didn't see any lines, like it's a composite, so it's got to be digital direct to the screen versus like a composite that came across. But again, for $42, I think this is an absolute no-brainer. It's quite impressive on here. And let's see how close we can go on this big screen. Again, I can still solder here. On some of the areas, it would be kind of hard, but I can always rotate this to where I need to do the solder. So I think at this point, that's probably the safest you can get to be safe soldering. But let's just see how closer we can get. Let me find another spot on the board here, like right there. I'm gonna come down even more and see how close I can get to zooming that. I mean, look at that. That is pretty good. Look at that. That is really good. I'm getting there's like a little shutter you're seeing on the screen now, but it's very minimal. I think it's just because the camera itself, the refresh, the 60 Hz refresh might be coming off. It kind of went away, but it was doing it. It could have been also vibration being picked up. I think that's what it actually was. Yep. So me just hitting the table caused that. So I was blaming the microscope, but it's not. It's just vibration from the table. Now I'm not touching the table. Everything is rock steady. But you could not solder at this point, but you can validate traces at this point. And I'm going to see if I can get any closer with focus. And look, you can see the ink actually being raised above it. That's how close we're getting. I'm going to go down even more. And I'm not sure if I can focus, but we're going to try. Okay, I can't focus anymore, so I have to go up a little bit. Let's see. Depending on what part of the board we're looking at. I mean, you can see the individual flux on that solder. And there's maybe 3/4 of an inch underneath it. You couldn't solder at this level, but to be quite honest, we had plenty of other areas where we could solder comfortably and see very well. But I am just blown away on how well this works. Now, I'm not sure if the markers come out here, so I'm going to go back into the menu real quick. And can I even do that? Okay, you can't. So if you had to make any setting changes, you got to do it before you connect it. So I'm going to unplug this for a second and see if we can do this. Going back to the internal screen, which I probably have to power it back on for. Over here. I'm going to power it on. And I'm going to go into the menu. And I'm going to put on the line assist. And I'll hit OK on that. And I'm going to turn it on. And then menu button again. So I have my lines here. I'm not sure if the lines will come across on this display, but let's find out. We're going to reconnect our camera. And I'm going to go down to PC camera. I don't have to reset this over here, I'm assuming. The computer just recognized it. Okay, I probably have to close the camera app and go, oh, there it is. Okay. I'm not patient. I'm not a patient guy. Okay, so the crosshairs that you can get on this screen doesn't transport here. It's just going to be a webcam going across. But let me give my final thoughts, which if you can already tell, I'm kind of excited. Let me give my final thoughts of this coming up now. Okay, well, if you can't already tell, I'm kind of blown away. I don't get blown away by too many products. This was $43, and I think it does exactly what they promised, which, you know, I shouldn't be shocked, but I am. You buy things online, sight unseen, very bold claims. Now, is this probably the best one out in the world? Probably not. But for $43, I think this is a no-brainer purchase. If you do any type of working with electronics or want to see some magnification on this screen, which is very crisp, or on your regular PC, it's able to record on an SD card what you're doing, and it's very easy to use and set up. Again, it's plastic, so don't expect to be roughhousing with it. But again, it even comes out of here very easily on its stand. I'm impressed with the stand itself as well, that this particular one is metal. A lot of them are plastic, so I'm going to put a link down below to this one. And I'm just going to turn the power button off in here for a second. Boop. And this thing power off, and it's going to power off right now. Let's get this light out. But this little guy right here, I'm sorry. I think it was an excellent buy. I'm going to put a link down below if you guys are interested on this. If you're doing any type of work where it needs to be something small, electronics or otherwise, I think you can't go wrong with this. Now, one thing I did add perks on top of this. So this was at $43. That comes with everything you need here, as you can see. But there may be times where you need to move this around more than you can do on this. So I did spend another $30. It's not here yet for this review. I'll do it again. It's an arm that you can connect to your desk, and it's got springs on it. So I'll be able to take this, pull it up, pull it down, move it across a wider area, like working on a motherboard. Because obviously you can't work on a PC motherboard with something like this. Small little electronics is fine. So this will be able to basically be dangling down and be able to move more freely. But I wasn't giving high hopes to this initially. And I am very happy with this purchase. So I'll put a link down below if you guys are interested. So if you did like the video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. It helps me a lot with the algorithms with YouTube and the channel. It takes 1 second for you, but it means a lot to me. But no matter what you do, or, you know, playing with stuff, whether it be electronics or fixing electronics, just remember to take a moment to tell your family and friends that you love them. Tomorrow's never promised. This is fun, but nothing takes more presence of your family and friends. But with that, I thank you all for watching. And no matter what you do to fix your electronics, fix on.
Are you looking for that arcade experience at home? If you don't have the space for a full-size arcade in your house or endless funds, then you need the GRS Build-A-Cade. It's arcade quality without the arcade price, from someone you can trust. The GRS Build-A-Cade is a very simple, easy to assemble, 1/6 scale arcade computer you can build yourself. You can buy interchangeable controllers for every gaming option you need to play the games the way they're meant to be played. You can also design your own artwork or purchase artwork separately to make your GRS Build-A-Cade look like the machine of your dreams. The GRS Build-A-Cade is also the only home system STEM certified. Come see what all the YouTube creators are raving about. GRS Build-A-Cade.
Game on.
Sit, Blue Blue, sit. Good dog.